Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Dream Labs. I am Dr. Contrast, pardon me, and Terrace. Good to have you on board. I just thought I'd give you a quick jingle here. Really interesting that I try to respond to you 4 times. I'm getting a chat error on this end, so my apologies for the delay. Hope you're doing well, and can you hear me okay? Everything good? So we get this thing started and we'll run with it here. And just want to bring up to speed on some things we've been doing for the last week or so. And we'll move into the landscape architectural piece in a moment here. So I'll just hold on for a moment to make sure that the sound is good. I've got everything up on this end, other than the fact that my chat line just isn't working. So if you have a chance, and Terrace, please let me know if that's good. I'll just hang on here for a moment. Oh, that's good. Thanks very much, Terrace. I don't know what's wrong at this end. I just got all ready to go, and it took my first line about greetings, are we ready to go? And to respond to your message, I got 4 errors in a row here, so something's upset with the chat side here. So anyway, before we get into the whole for a purpose for today's stream on landscape architecture, I'd just go back and review just a little bit and show you some of the final work done for the HS108. So we'll go through that first and then go back to the landscape that I've got some things put together for you here. This is the first one done, and I think probably the most successful of the two, I think. I'll show you this in a moment here. It's a little leaner looking. The architectural statement's a little stronger. I think it was really kind of a nice approach to keeping it nice and lean, giving it that rest, putting it on the ground with the landing gear down was a different approach. Usually I do things in flight, and this one I thought was a little different, putting it together. So we wrapped this one up live last week and added the pilot, so forth, the architectural piece, and finished up the illustration last Wednesday. And in the meantime, I just started this last week. This is another sketch we did last week on the same day. Went back into a second variation on the theme here. And interesting too, again, went to a trio of machines. Again, it's a little bit of scale, human element at that end. And thought, well, we give that a run here. I think the difference here is this is a lot more mass, much taller, a little bit leaner through here. And I think one of the difficulties here, I thought, with this guy, and I think Shadow brought it up in our conversation when I showed him the work live, etc. This interesting format here, but I think the fracture here a little bit too bold, and I think the weight down through here underneath the second butterfly wing, a little bit too heavy. Like in a roll situation, it'd be a little difficult to maneuver. So we kind of pulled back on that a little bit. But I think what I did learn from both these illustrations, see, I'll put these guys side by side a little bit here, one against the other, just to show you the vehicles, if we can get them in the same screen here, not too much. What I did learn, though, from both of them was the fact that maybe going back in a couple of weeks' time, or in a future program or a stream, go back and revise this thing and start to look at the fact that maybe we kind of need to go back to this thinner weight here, this slimmer vehicle, and keep the cockpit and go a little rear with it, and maybe try a dual canopy here where you've got a pilot or co-pilot up front and a gutter or so forth in the rear. And again, really modify the structure here as the wing, especially in this guy here, where the wing structure is a little heavier. So that might be kind of neat too, to keep this format, kind of shrink it a little bit, stretch it a little bit more, and then put a pilot system here or a dual canopy here, and keep it all very, very lean and almost stealth-like. So what do you think, Terrace? Think it'd be worth giving it a run here in a future reference in the stream? I think it'd be kind of fun to look at that, because I think the format is interesting, that the concept is good. We need to kind of refine a little bit more of the pieces as you learn, as you well know, as you go from one sketch to another. You really, I think that'd be really cool, like a dual canopy variant, but really neat, where you have dual canopies, or you have, this is just pure body form, and there's a dual canopy here. Maybe extend this a little bit more adventuresome with that front end nose cap. But that's a future reference. So I just thought I'd take a moment and just for review, bring up to speed of where we were with those 2 HS108 programs. We've wrapped it up, and we're going to move on to some landscape architecture. But I do think down the line, I'm going to put together maybe an agenda. They're putting together another facelift of this thing, because the first one was a bit of a failure, a little bit too soft, unintimidating. This is a much stronger statement, I think. But I think we can refine a little bit further. Need some really neat aircraft surface work to work with. So let's get that aside, and we'll move right into this today's stream. I brought this along. This is a portfolio I put together of a lot of my landscape work, active work, and it gets into a lot of different varieties of situations. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to switch gears and go from mechanical to something soft sculpture and some landscape work, and let you see what the scope of the work I've been doing in some landscape design, still active in it over the course of the past year or two. This is recent work. I put together this portfolio for my client, working with them. I became their chief designer, I think, in landscape architecture for a large national firm here, and did a lot of design coordination with their staff, like engineers, landscape individuals, structural people, city governments, etc. All that kind of rolled into one. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through some of the things here. So let me know what you think here, and I'm just going to go through and describe it. And also I want you to know too that as a result of this landscape piece, I'm still very active with it. I did a lot of work last year to cover. That's a lot of fun. A lot of this is part of my sketch work here, site plan, and all the combinations are of, and you'll see throughout the book. It goes through a variety of subjects and levels, so I think you'll enjoy it. Hopefully, that Terrace and those who are listening. It's a great discipline. I love working with it. It's a whole different set of challenges. I'm still active, as I said. In fact, I just was notified here about a month ago, and maybe around April, May, I'll be doing some more landscape work. That'll be actually live. I can actually take the project and begin to show you to develop the sketches and the color work. Everything from streetscapes to signage, downtown boulevard studies, some architectural systems for retail space, etc. All that's coming. So anyhow, let's move into this thing. First I want to show you is this is, I'll just kind of walk you through the pages here. This is a project done for the University of West Virginia, walkability study. They came to us looking for how do we improve the transportability for student matter from one building to another, or travel time from one side of campus, east side of campus, or the west side of campus, or anywhere around it here. There's a little streetscape study here, looking at a major boulevard in the heart of the campus, little resting place with a bench and so forth, seating area, and some streetscape work here. This was an interesting one too, where it was actually downtown, where we started looking at what would happen if you did this, like some boulevard crossing, planting more trees and get a little more architectural kind of canopies, and just facelifting some of the architecture that was already there. This was the big one here. This transferred from the University of West Virginia over to this side here, but they wanted some sort of a tunnel or a bridge system to get into a very major I think it was more like an opera hall or an entertainment center on campus that they were building. So we kind of put together this little bridge study for them. It's covered. You travel over it into this area and then back and forth from one side of the campus to the other. So that was for the University of West Virginia. Let's move along to streetscape work now. There's a little page study, a little study here of streetscape like downtown Dublin, and then something in West Virginia again. No, I picked this back. This is Kentucky. So we'll move along the line here very quickly. That was a cover page. This was interesting. Huntington, West Virginia, a different city altogether, came to us with a problem of having traffic flow in the actual inner city area. So you enter in through here, you're coming down with a boulevard split in parking, into a boulevard split in parking, a major intersection, and again, repeating it at the other end of the line. This is about maybe 1.5 miles or 2 miles scope coming right down the line here. So I hope you can see this very clearly. But I think one of the neat things about this project was this Huntington, West Virginia, had a bridge over the Ohio River, and years ago it was all done in Art Deco. Some of the things that were done with that bridge were just absolutely amazing. So we put together a little kiosk for directional pieces downtown in one of these areas here, a little directional piece here for kiosk work and giving it some scale and some architectural presence, some softscape. But the unique thing was, if you can see this very clearly, this unit over here, this project was unique because they had in storage. They had a whole series of these very large, almost 48-inch diameter metal spheres. I think they were aluminum, but they were polished aluminum and just stunning looking spheres with a spike on it. They were part of the decoration of this very Art Deco bridge. Based on, is it just, is West Virginia where you are? Nope, that's not where I'm based. I'm based out of Columbus, Ohio, Matt Terrace. The work I'm doing here is in my office here in Columbus, Ohio. But I got work all over the country as a result of being part of this design manager for this firm. Interesting that this unit, this piece was just stunning. They had no use for it, but when we saw it, we thought, yeah, we need to put that as a real feature in the city itself. Maybe this just a little spherical unit from the bridge. It was on top of the bridge pillars. There were 6 of them, just amazing scale-wise. So we took those pieces and began to maybe put them in areas like along the end of a boulevard, and just to use that as a decor piece, almost like a feature piece for the city. Really interesting piece of architecture, and phenomenal. We use it also for like some restaurant areas. We actually put like the outdoor seating area or dining area. We put that as a decoration piece and with the signage on it. So it became a very flexible look in terms of pedestrian apparitions and signage posts for going through the city itself. So that was it for Huntington. Just a great streetscape study all the way through. And this is the actual site plan, some of the detail work in it, of course, and I just kind of break it down that way. Whenever I go through a process like that, I'll go through the actual overall at scale, what the units look like, what the retail space might look like, and how we break up the surfaces with hardscape and softscape, and some of the detail work inside of that. So that was for Huntington. And move over to Dublin Historic. They came to us looking for some areas of peace and quiet and so forth. So kind of like the spheres were used to punctuate the past. Yeah, that's exactly right, Antares. They were used to kind of punctuate the action of the road, but also it was such a strong statement from this. I think this bridge was built back in the 1900s, early 1900s. It was all Art Deco. Even some of the railing work was all filigreed and extremely well done. So we use those pieces from storage to kind of go back and decorate areas. For example, in the heart, maybe this portion here had one on each end of it. At the end of the boulevard, the entry and egress area had one, and we used some of the other pieces in some of the restaurants and outdoor cafe areas in the city. Just a tremendous, I've never seen anything like it. It was just really cool. Very typical 30s Art Deco, neat stuff. Back to Dublin here, they came to us with a difficulty, some of their old historic downtown area. They had a difficulty finding green space or places to sit down and just kind of relax, and little observation areas here. So I put together a series of sketches here with some simple railing, some brick walls, some softscape, and again, notice a little seating area across the street, little pockets along the way to give individuals who are shopping in that area a chance to sit down and rest and take a look at the architecture. A very quaint little old town, neat stuff, but they had to have some sort of relief and green space to kind of give the pedestrians and the shoppers a bit of a relief to work with here. Very often that's the case. And again, the city itself, the actual stores and everything lined up like an old Norman Rockwell, almost classic American old town look to it. It's really cool. So those are the sketches that were done for that program. Highly successful. Liked it. And it's been all this, by the way, too. As we go through this portfolio, all these pieces I'm referring to have been built. They're not just conceptual studies and hopefully they go into waste and they disappear. These programs were created, implemented, engineered, and actually built in each one of the cities or sites we're going to go throughout the course of the day here. So that was downtown Dublin. Let me switch gears here. This was another one for Millport Road here. Another site plan, so adding some roundabouts, putting that into place, and coming through with the major boulevard coming through the area into some park space. Another roundabout for some of these outlined areas here, some of the stores and retail areas in the village of Obetz, which is a suburb of Columbus. So interesting, again, it ranges from conceptual sketches to very hard-line architectural layouts to scale. The whole idea was to give them, again, this whole sense of a downtown community. It was a very barren, just a bare road, almost like a suicide road with all these houses in it, or retail spaces and businesses, but didn't have a character to it. So that's what they wanted to establish, a nice little character study in the streetscape itself. This is now back to Huntington, West Virginia. This is another one of those pieces that we're looking at here earlier on. In Huntington, so not only did they have that whole neat thing about the bridge system, those spheres, they wanted to do some downtown things like adding light posts, some hardscape, and some softscape areas here, new lighting. And again, they had a bridge or a crossover member here with a big timepiece on top of it, clock up on top, and then the city of Huntington, like a gateway into the actual city itself. Here's a little detail of like getting into street signage, for example, new lamp posts, new hardscape areas like brickwork and patterns in the downtown area. Another little feature here showing the established in 1870. These are the pieces we put together in terms of putting this whole format together. So working back and forth with city governments and administrators, what the character would be looking like, what they wanted to establish, what type of features they want, old-fashioned light posts, contemporary work, etc. Very fascinating industry, I think, in terms of learning the curve about how to work with. That's why I think it's one of my favorite disciplines, because it's so unique in terms of materials, textures, organization, working with great people along the way. And this little detail here of the, this is the entryway into the University of West Virginia, or pardon me, Marshall University here. Again, light post, some banner work, and again, a two-pillar column, a fountain out front, and then a nice stone wall and some fencing in between the two, and then right back into the entryway for the university. So pretty cool stuff. What do you think so far? Antares making sense for you? Pretty neat stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'll just hang on here for any comment. Please feel to give me a comment from time to time here and let me know what you think. I don't want to really, to me, a great discipline to work with. So that was the streetscape at Huntington, West Virginia. This is an intersection study for the same thing, again, down in West Virginia, a different part of the city. The spheres, it's interesting. So again, a little boulevard for interchange, little brickwork here, some foliage, and again, entering into a residential area, and again, in the Huntington area. So again, a little thumbnail study. We actually go from something that's as expansive as this is, pardon me, expansive as this is, into some detail work. This is more city-based. This is more residential and commercial, not non-commercial, but residential entryways. So this actually set a pattern for each major housing area that they were dealing with. And again, showing what the cross pattern is, some maybe businesses here, some signage, fencing, and give it some scale with the vehicle coming into the intersection itself. So that was it. Let's see, really cool. Must be very rewarding to have the hand in designing spaces for people that have it. Yeah, it is interesting. I think that it's what intrigues me about it, Antares, and I'm sure you're well aware of it, probably work the same way. What amazes me is that the number of people you get to work with who have so many different crafts and ideas and concepts, and this, like city governments and administrators and certain control boards, they're not all really stiff-necked. They really look at the newness and they really want to make improvements in their community. So it is interesting to have people who accept your work and begin to see it from beginning concept to completion and improve the quality of their life. So yeah, you're right. It's a very interesting, it is rewarding, but rewarding for me is the people I work with. The work is just, to me, it's fun, as you all know, and I know you feel the same way about your work. It's just fun, but to see it come back like this from people who, after it's all said and done, come back and say, boy, the traffic flow is great, people are visiting the city, we're getting great feedback on the character of the work you've done, very much so. But I look at it from the point of view, it's not about me, it's about what we do for other people that matter. I've said that a million times on the stream, and I'll keep saying it. I could care less about what people, no, I don't mean to rephrase that. I'm not interested in what people say about me. I'm interested in what the outcome is of my work that will help individuals like yourself and others. That's the key thing for the whole process here. Another little streetscape study for the same area. Huntington, again, a little detail of getting new great work around some of the foliage, adding canopies to the business. This is what it would look like. And this is actual shot in front of a dealership here. But they want to actually, notice I did a little red line drawing over that photograph and converted that into a little thumbnail study of what it might look like for the individuals to view and evaluate. So again, adding canopies, putting the signage up in place, adding some soft scape to it, keeping that intact. But again, just little touches along the way to make it a little more fulfilling. Move along here quickly. Get my hands to work, it'll be good. Yeah, see, there it is. Next piece here goes into streetscape. And again, this is again, I think this was in Kentucky of some sort, where they had a very strong, interesting area for retail space and restaurant areas and downtown area, but they needed some little features like some park benching areas or seating areas again to capture the look of the actual flavor. New fencing, new brickwork, little softscape with a bench in between for rest. This is the outdoors area, like a dining area, a little signage of the city itself, the name of the restaurant, And then again, facelifting the actual, putting a canopy over the top of the restaurant and putting more new facades and signage. And again, bringing that same cityscape right back into the actual streetscape concept sketch for this restaurant face. And again, downtown facility. Really interesting. Again, notice how it changes from architecture. Yeah, it really is. Interpersonal to me is what it's all about. Terrace, interpersonal, being able to work with people like yourself and others and say, hey, what do you think? And then work with that and come back to a really strong conclusion. It makes an enormous difference in the efforts that you're putting together. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've sat back and said, well, guess what? Here I am. That's foolish. I've always said that, well, it's great to be here. It's a privilege to be part of the process. I'm honored to be asked to be part of the design team. What can we do to make these things improve? Let's get some input here. So that's another one, concept study. The renovation work, again, same process again with this Huntington Township area here. Notice another little roundabout study into the boulevard area, and those seating areas we talked about, some rest areas in the green space, some benching along the way, adding some more foliage and just softening it all off in a very interesting roundabout here coming into the city in 4 directions. These are some little thumbnail sketches we did for some detail. For example, planters, a little bit of wall, a new signage post, and a new flag, a new blade sign. Again, same with banners here in front of a restaurant area. A little detail of some of the lamppost work. And again, green space, resting area, brickwork, a little bit of wall, bench, new wall behind it, some fencing, etc. Just neat stuff. And breaking it down, seeing the big picture and bringing it down to a smaller scale and putting little features together. These sketches, while I'm at it here, these sketches become invaluable because what they do is give the individuals you're presenting to see the big picture, the scope, and then begin to break it down into modules and individual studies that can kind of, I see, it's much more clarifying. So neat stuff. Let me move along here to the next sheet. Let's move on. This is going into some recreation areas now. Carson Farms Park, where they actually have people coming in to view the park itself. It's a farm active park in Delaware. So it's very active. Look at the site plan, getting into look at a little feature area here for retail space, etc. And then this is where they were. And I think we go back in here. I'm not sure if we got some design steps. No, not really. But that all it was here was a site plan. A lot of foliage, some retail areas here, and then lawn space and a walking path around the actual facility and the farm itself for touring systems. So that's it. And the Columbus Crew practice facility, we did a lot of work with them, making sure that here are some of the practice fields, some of the headquarters area here, parking, and then back into some full patterns for the actual facility itself. This is for a barn study in Westerville. Looking at, again, this is another place where people like in the fall of the year would come and visit the farm and the apple cider and all that kind of stuff, pumpkins and the like. But this one, a new design for the barn, actual retail space itself for McNamara Park, which is part of it all. And then some of the little thumbnails about entering into the area here, a little bit of ponding device, more foliage, and some little detail work on it, and into the actual barn itself, into the parking facility. Great, I mean, just fun stuff. It just changes. Notice too, when you go from one discipline to another in Terrace, what I think is neat, you've got inner city, you've got country, you've got university structures, you've got farms, activity areas. The format for design changes. Sometimes it's very rustic, sometimes it's very futuristic. So it changes gears, which I think is really exciting to me. And it's great practice because it keeps you fresh. And you're not falling into a pattern of, oh, I love this shape or I love this color. You're moving all the time through the matrix of being creative. So I think that to me is extremely fundamental. And that's why I love architectural design, both exterior and landscape and interior space, because all the multiplicity of textures and detail work and the technology is phenomenal. Vehicles are great, aircraft is great, product design is marvelous, but I think I love all of them, but I think this is one of my favorites because it's such a great challenge from that point of view I just described. So let's move over here. Genoa Township, that was just a walkway path system, that was much. Again, McNamara again, back to Genoa Township, a new signage, a new clubhouse area, some of the detail work inside of it all when it was all built. This is the actual concept sketch, and this is the actual finished product here, what they had. And we added some more cupolas and some other changes to it. New signage, some of the actual skylight areas when you enter in, seating areas and signage, and again some of the facility areas for like preparing meals and gathering places for weddings or other celebrities or celebrations they want to utilize throughout the course of the year. So a lot of neat stuff. Miami Township Riverview Park, again, this is an actual site plan study for walkability, putting some foliage down. Notice a walking path throughout the entire process here, some athletic fields. Just laying down the design for Society of, and this is a winning award for the American Society of Landscape Architects, so it was really kind of neat. Let's say, notice it, sorry, but no, totally agree. Spending time on different persimmons and genres. Yeah, I think that's to me, that's golden, Terrace. Spending time switching gears and going to different disciplines, it really opens up the vocabulary and it keeps you fresh and it enriches and brain and it just keeps you more extended and well-rounded. Well said. There's a little village of Obits. These are little thumbnail sketches based on. This is actually a recreation area that they were looking at. It was very sparse, not very well developed. It just kind of sat there, it was neglected for a long period of time. And what was happening was they wanted a conceptual diagram of where these things are going to take place. So we had a marsh theme, a river theme, trail signage, woodland area, secondary trails, farmstead theme, recreational area, and tall grass picnic area. So all these areas were there. So I just broke it down in some little, like the Marshy Way Trail, for example, how that would, like all boardwalk going through this marsh. This would all be Conservation Lodge, what that might look like, a little thumbnail sketch, and two different views. Exterior and then some of the interior area where you actually have seating area here, and the facility area. The run trail, for example, this would all be a walking path through and over a bridge. This would be the natural recreation where you have maybe some soccer fields or something of that nature. They actually, with a roundabout, the walking path coming into it. Again, variety of shape, variety of form, different systems, and putting it all together for this park was really a lot of fun. Now let's move on to, what am I here? This is community identity. Another facet of the actual landscape architecture discipline. And let's move along here. Pardon me, Bowling Green, again, inner city, so some signage for the wayfinding pieces for the city, a little diagram of what was going to take place in terms of the master plan, how we're going to break it all down as far as flow chart goes, and what takes place in these different areas. And again, a little thumbnail sketch here on the bottom here of the actual walkway path areas and adding more a little signage over the top, so like a crown and lighting, more sculpture, and again, some of these really neat looking boom type lighting systems over the actual inner city itself. Liberty Crossing, this is interesting too. Now you look at, this is like a signature tree, it's like an entryway piece into a subdivision. So they wanted, this is Liberty Township in Claremont County. Again, this is where they were, and this is actually this is the actual finished product. These are some of the thumbnail sketches based on what that might look like as far as an entryway piece, what it looks like. Again, finished concept sketch, finished sketch. This was actually used somewhere else, but that was another design we had done, which was similar to this one, but that one was also implemented in other areas of the actual residential area. Does it take you a long time to gather reference and immerse yourself in a project like this before sketching? I think a little bit of both, really, interesting. A lot of research, for example. Most of the stuff you see in this portfolio, which is a very small range of the work I've done on landscape architecture. This is just from one firm. What I do is I take a lot of time. For example, the reference comes from getting meetings with city officials, and mayors, councilmen and members, building committee people, zoning individuals. All that happens ahead of time, so we get some good feedback on what the direction might take. But they have no idea what that direction is going to look like. So we take that information, and that becomes our reference point. And then we begin to generate sketches. What about? What about? What about? So it's actually a two-way street. So I hope that helps answer your question. It's not a lot of time. Sometimes it can happen in one or two meetings. Sometimes it's a working back and forth over a month or two's period of time, and we get some good feedback, and then we start to implement the design process, and then from there, approval into manufacturing and construction. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. That's a great question. It doesn't. Very rarely have I started a landscape architectural project where you just, I take that back. There are some cases where you can bypass some of the reference work and start doing sketches right away. For example, like a kiosk sign, or a signage entryway piece, or a benchmark, a gateway. Much less to do with research and reference, but just getting a character down. Because oftentimes, those features we just mentioned here are very much filled with the fact that yeah, we have the location. We just need some sort of kind of a piece that really kind of accentuates it. I'll have parameters for yeah. You just translate it. That's exactly right. It's cool. Let's see what's that's a historic district again. Just looking at maybe an intersection change. This is where they were. This is the actual thumbnail sketch or the site plan study. And that was the actual district area that we put together. Very simple little wall study, not much there. This is interesting. Polaris Fashion Place up in the upper end of Columbus. We did a lot of architectural work for them. This is more of an architectural plus landscape architectural piece in and of itself, where they actually wanted to do a whole new entryway area, signage, getting into retail, and maybe a walk-through canopies, for example, is a design feature with a very specific character of Old English look or very classic look. It's an overview site plan of an entryway into it here, retail, and that's these little walkthroughs, retail walkthroughs, and then the rest of the park where the actual fashion plays would have the same kind of architectural character. So this is a very, very expansive project to work with here. A lot of fun. White House Square, looking for a simple entryway. Here's a good one here to answer your question too, and tell us about research. Some research was done for this one. They had an idea that they want a very tall looking, almost Italian looking edifices. That was no problem. A hat section roof. So the details were there. So we put together this little site plan here of the walking area, and this area here would be representative of the actual opening. This is the entryway into the actual area of the residential area. So neat stuff. I mean, again, very simple stone wall, hat section up on top, metal roof, a little bit of wall accent, some flag work and boulevard, and some soft sculpture and hard sculpture. This was very, very upscale. Let's go back to that for a moment. That Polaris piece, extremely upscale. So everything we did in that architectural piece, every retail space along the way, had the same overall character. So very interesting to work with. So cool stuff. You're right. Very, very upscale. And we took some of this stuff into some other areas too. For example, like the Diamond area up and around the Cleveland area, we had a lot of spillover. They wanted the same character, not identical, but the same personality. So there we are. That was White House all set. We're done with that one. And I think we're just about home here. Yep. Now we move into what I think is really kind of neat. That this is all architecture. So this gets a little more specific now. Not so much landscape, but much more building facility work as a result of it. I think that's the fun part about the landscape architectural side of it all, because oftentimes you'll do something in a landscape theme, softscape and hardscape, and a character reference, and then you'll move into architecture, and that same client will come and say, could you take a look at maybe some of the architectural facilities or design we're looking at for this facility? That happened at Polaris. Here's some softscape work, but boy, the architecture looks great. Could you kind of follow up on that? So it begins to spill over. Again, the key there is communication, not being forceful, doing your job, but doing more than your job, and then opening up the door for other opportunities, and without being overly pushy or obnoxious about what you're doing. Never done that, never will. I'm always respectful of the people I work with, and they've got more talent than I do because they know what they're after. They live in that community. I don't. So I'm just listening. I'm almost tuned into the listening side of it to make sure we do the right thing. So here's some architectural stuff here. This is cool. Elevation study of this new professional park office, and this is what it looked like in the finished process itself. So again, site plan, elevation, obviously Collin Office Park in Plano. This is in Plano, Texas. So that's kind of cool. That's showing how much the scope we had to work with here. So it went from architecture, landscape architecture, to actually architectural development work as a result of what we're doing. It's Columbus City Hall. This is now the city of Columbus, getting into a little thumbnail study of the riverfront, and then a site plan of what that might look like for the city hall itself being embedded in this area here. A lot of brickwork, a lot of city hall work off the riverfront itself. The administration tower, which is here, really interesting thing to work with here. So again, much more flexibility. Get the next one in here, Columbus City Hall. This is Salt Lake City in Utah. Some architectural pieces, so you have softscape around it, whole new building facility. We looked at some else, a couple of thumbnail sketches to kind of go opposing. Okay, I confess I've not always been the best listener, but it's something I've tried to work on. That comes with time too, Antares. And I'm sure you do, but I think you'll find out as the more you begin to tune into what people's desires are and begin to earn their confidence, you can work back and forth trustfully with conversation. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. However, if you looked at, it's how you frame it. And my listening perspective is I'm very tuned into what they've said. And I'll take what they've said and begin to say, are you referring to this with the option of maybe perhaps this? I've always been a believer in take the input, deliver it, and then expand on that input from our perspective, what we think might, and it's not being arrogant about it, it's just taking that information and saying, here's what they've told us to look at. But we've done that. Now we take a look at all the other stuff. I've done the same thing in automobile design. For Corvette, for example, it's got to be low, all the parameters there. But what if we did that? What if we did more hip, more plan view, more this, more? It's always what if. What about? So you're adding to it. You're not destroying their confidence, but you're building on their confidence. And what you're really saying is, we respect your insight. However, have you looked at this? Yeah, framing it is really, really incredible. So thank you very much. So this is the Salt Lake City architectural piece. This is Hyatt Hotels. For example, this is Illinois, all three, Illinois, and Virginia, working with the architectural firms to get those themes down. Hotel systems are under the one brand, and that was Hyatt here. So that's kind of cool how to work with that. Let's move along here. This is interesting too. This I thought was really cool. We've got a good friend of mine who's in IndyCar racing and also with LMP machines, Greg Schenk. He came to us looking for, working with his architect, Greg Gaber, looked for a new facility for his racing shop. So we put together some little detail shots of when it's all finished, that's what it looked like. There's a little site plan study here, a little architectural drawing here, and some detail work of what that might look like. 17,000 square feet of his whole new racing facility. Very successful guy, interesting to work with. And again, notice the range from hotels to racing shops. Just really fun stuff. Move along here. This is Addison, Texas, a little sports complex. Getting into areas, for example, again, site plan, a lot of brickwork, a little roundabout area here. Interesting thing about putting this all together. Underground parking structure, which is here and in the area, little gathering place in through here. It just neat stuff, all level one material, but just so much fun to work with. And then last but not least, this is what we got here. This is more of a over here. Residential development. This gets back into housing areas again. This was Baldessaro Tract in Genoa. We looked at the actual site plan. I was given a line drawing of what these housing might look like. So I put together this whole thing about aircraft travel over the top of it, some of the outlying areas of some of the structure where this retail space is going to be. And my task was to come in and give them an idea of what this might look like with a walking path, roadways, egress coming in from here into the actual site itself, adding lakes and ponds and a variety of housing. Purely conceptual, but nonetheless, they really began to look at this from a build point and actually built it. So it's really kind of neat, just as is. They love the plane, by the way, too. So I had to put that in there just to give some sense of scale. This is another one, Village Commercial Point, looking at housing breakdowns and where to place soft sculpture, ponding, etc. Some of the things are very restrictive. You'll have this already. They've got the plat laid out, but how do you lay that out in terms of putting residential pieces in without getting it too crammed in or really stuffy? So that was that. Liberty Road condominiums, again, coming in from the entryway. These are just buildings laid up and putting a little bit of pond behind it all. They had no idea, for example, of what this compound might look like. So we came in and said, no, well, we can actually, there's the entryway coming in, a little roundabout right and left, a little gathering space up front here, a little ponding area, some green space for people to gather for functions and the like, and just putting larger facilities around this unit and putting some little soft sculpture and a water feature around it. Very, very successful. Loved it, and it was built. Just neat stuff. And again, these are the projects we have a lot of interface, Terrace, with people who are in the business. For example, the zoning planners, the commissioners, the mayor, some of the council members. They know what they're after in terms of, and actually the builders and people are all involved in the conversation about what these things look like. So it's never a one-man show. Very rarely is it a one-man show. But I think you said it earlier, and I'll say it again. It's amazing to really learn how to listen and immerse yourself in a conversation. Not so much to be just dictate that conversation and repeat it, but to expand upon it. And as long as they're aware of the fact that this is your idea, this is a great concept. But we took your idea and took it a little bit further. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? that works every time because they're a part of the process. You're not separating them. And I think too many designers, for example, and I hope I can say this respectfully, from my experience, there are a lot of designers I work with that are so specifically me, myself, and I related, they lose work. That doesn't mean you compromise your discipline or your ethics. You just are smart enough to know that, hey, listen, I'm going to learn something here, and I'm going to get something out of it, and I'm going to get to do some more work. And what happens as a result of that, too, Antares, is a very interesting phenomenon. If that approach is taken and we are very malleable with the people you're dealing with, they'll refer you to other organizations, to other corporations to work with. So it's a marketing tool as well. Excellent stuff. So there it is for Liberty Road. This is done in Lexington, Kentucky. This is a little entryway into a very large village. They wanted to do something a little bit more unique away from the actual metal tone or metal or okay, I'll say a plastic look at it. So a little bit of a pillar, so in a 90-degree corner into the entryway for the actual piece itself. At the village at Takes Creek in beautiful Lexington, Kentucky. And this one here, Trails Edge and Hilliard. This is again, little friendly space area, entryway, little feature. This is a gateway piece into, for example, a feature area. This is all about knowledge of the city, established around retail spaces, what they're doing with it all, businesses around it, and again, entry and into it and back out again. So it's a living, working environment, live work concept, including a home. It's exterior and interior as well, so both were done. Most people would want to work with a humble collaborator, not as a, yeah, I think you're right. Just a humble individual. Humble doesn't mean you're actually lacking in power. Humility is powerful. I mean, if you're able to say, you know what, gee, I don't know about that. Could you explain that phenomenon to me? That opens up a gate of conversation, and again, this establishes confidence with the people you're working with. So strong. So. Again, a little live work community where you actually come in. There's an actual participation area in the center of the little roundabout. There's an entryway into it. Kind of cool stuff. Walnut Grove, again, came to us with a very sparse, didn't have any signage, so we put together this little walnut, little timepiece, part of the wall that went into it, and Walnut Grove Estates, and a little herbarium for seating space area for just back for neighbors to kind of gather and chat about certain things around the area. So it was really kind of neat to see that come about. And down the line here, Willowbrook Masterware Plan. Again, the old farm was there, so we kind of put together a big plan of how to get in and out of the thing. All of that was happening. The silo of the barn was at this end, but there was a big park to work with in the master plan in Delaware. So it was more of a, there's some residential pieces in here as well. So very complicated area here to work with. And coming down the line here, this is the last Woodbine Village, for example. That was interesting too, in Union County. A site plan, and the funny thing is they wanted a mailbox detail, so we gave this little mailbox detail down here. It had nothing to do with the overall form itself, but I think they were more interested in getting what the housing might look like, what the fencing might look like, what the signage might look like as you go from one area to another. And then this is the actual site plan of the actual area itself. Entry in through the whole process. So that was that. And then hopefully down in the woods, yeah, this is the Labrador Township. This is the last piece we'll go through here. Really interesting thing because now, almost arrow type, we actually have entry and egress area here, pounding at the intersection, a real strong entryway piece. This is the entryway piece where that pond was, and what that might look like as far as scale is concerned. Some signage along the way here to kind of, for these very large, almost, we utilized here some of the, what are they called? The very, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the term. These galley stones, for example, that were used to haul through some of the boats in the river. Very large limestone pieces, and again, that became part of the process here. And that was located in this area here for the entryway piece. And again, some little Sayatola, I said area here. This is the overall site plan of what it might look like. That's the entryway piece we're talking about here, with the pond behind it and the signage and so forth, and some of the retail space in between. So that just about does it there, gang, for this landscape piece. I thought it'd be kind of nice to change gears going from the actual HS10P change of pace. Got that wrapped up last week with that new design system for both aircraft studies. But as promised, I'd just like to change subject matter from week to week and make a big difference in how we deal with this stuff. I never want to get caught doing the same thing over and over and over again. For example, last week, for the last 5 or 6 weeks, I was developing this HS-108 series, which I think came out nicely. And when I look at it, I still want to make some revisions, but not right away. We'll be able to let that sit for a while and come back and revisit it. And but for this time, I just wanted to go from that element of hardcore, really gutsy design stuff to a nice, simple landscape work that integrates a lot of different systems with people, places, times, and textures. Change of pace really works very, very well. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed going through that. I've been very privileged, I'll say this without any reservation, extremely privileged to work with a lot of great people. And I've learned an awful lot over the last few years of my career and still learning. It's been a lot of fun. The people I worked with years ago, I've maintained the same client base for the last almost 30 to 40 years. And that client base is built on people referring me from, JD did this and Dr. Contrast did this. I get referrals all the time. I don't deserve it. Just interesting how it all comes together. So I'm grateful for it, but I want to keep moving with this whole change of pace. So stay tuned. Hopefully, if all goes well, Antares, next week I'm going to change gears again and go to some watercolor studies on advanced Lamborghini concept work. So really cool. Maybe maybe 8 by 17. Real quick watercolor studies of Lamborghini. So thank you very much, Antares, for the portfolio. It's easy. It's just fun to show this stuff, and I think people like yourself, with the skill set you have, you're going to expand your vocabulary tremendously here as you go through as your career, and I'm happy for you. I mean, I really mean that sincerely. You're doing some great work. The improvement in some of your empathic sketch work, what you do from a gaming system setup is absolutely marvelous. I think it's exciting to see, and I just encourage you to keep sending me sketches. And again, not to infer anything here, but please, if there's anything I can help you with, technique-wise, operational-wise, educationally, let me know. I'll be happy to put on a stream specifically on that subject matter to make sure you're getting the right information. Hopefully, I don't have it right, but maybe I can give you some insight about what we're looking at here. So, very much appreciate it. Terrific to be here today. I'm looking forward to next week if we get this thing to run here. There might be a bit of a conflict coming up from a meeting I have with a client base. I'll keep you posted through the early part of the week. I'm hoping to be able to go live again next Wednesday. If not, I'll put on an alert, and we'll make sure if I don't get it Wednesday, maybe we'll get it done on Thursday. But we'll get it done. But I'm looking forward to going into a whole different thing, like some product design work, some Lamborghini work, some empathic work, some speed form work. I got a really neat email from a lady, I think in Europe, who looked at my work and said, I'm a big fan of your work. I love your empathic work. I'm a yacht designer. I'm using that system to develop new yachts, and I think it's just been a terrific, refreshing approach. Do you have other things I can work with? So I gave her the whole idea about what I do on YouTube. So if that'd be some help. That was really encouraging to hear that. Oh, Antares, I'm going to drop some more. I was going to make some empathic stuff and make macaronis. Oh, that's great. Please do. I'm really look forward to seeing what your work is doing here. And again, the elements are there, Antares. You've got the great work ethic. You've got a great sense of design. I think watching you improve here, and I mean that constructively, not destructively. Watching you improve in the whole process over the last few weeks since you've been on board has been great to see. You're an inspiration to me, and I really mean that sincerely. Great to see you come together with it all and just taking on those challenges and getting stronger as you go with it. So neat stuff. All the very best to you. And again, when you get them done, take your time. When you get them done, just email me and I'll respond right back with you and make sure we get it done. And I know I've said this before, but if you have a lot of friends who might be interested in my stream, please let them know I'm available and go live on Wednesday. I'd like to join that audience with you and keep growing it. We're getting some great feedback on the YouTube stuff now, so it's beginning to build a little bit more momentum. I'm grateful for that, and we won't stop until we get some really cool stuff taken care of here. So all that to say, folks, I hope you have, please visit my website at drcontrast.com. If you have anything you want to drop a note on, that's jim@drcontrast.com. Be happy to help you. And again, jim@drcontrast.com. Happy to help. And again, website, drcontrast.com. We're still working on trying to find a vendor to do some really good apparel stuff. So we've got that. It's almost like a coin toss. We hope we're going to get somebody to find somebody to do some really good work. And we'll keep that posted. Once we get that established, we'll put that up on the website, and that'll be out for sale. Prints, apparel, a lot of variety of different things as well. So it's all coming. So again, thank you so much for the time. I wish you all the very best, and always do this. Remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thank you very much, gang. All the very best. Have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Take care. Thank you.